Hello out there, and welcome to day 3 of Container Days. This is an event leading up to Kubecon EU next week. Now, team, today we've got an exciting set of sessions all about EKS Anywhere. Now, very quickly, before we get started, drop a message in chat. Tell us where you're coming from. Say, hi, I'm from Austin, Texas. That's me. I'm Cy Venom. I'm going to be your host for today. I'm a developer advocate with AWS. Again, today, like I said, we've got a number of sessions on EKS Anywhere, awesome guest speakers, product managers, development managers, and we have a number of awesome topics for you today. Now, I'm in the spirit today for KubeCon. I've got my KubeCon NA t-shirt from, I think, 2 or 3 years back on right here. I'm excited to get today started. Now, today we've got a number of panelists, and Vipin, I want to start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got pulled into this project, and as our first speaker of today, I think I also have to ask you to talk a little bit about what is EKS Anywhere?
Yeah, thank you, Sai. Excited to be here. Hey, everyone. My name is Vipin Mohan. I'm a principal product manager on the AWS Kubernetes team, and I'm very excited to talk to you about EKS Anywhere today. So just to introduce myself, and for me personally, learning is something that is very important. So I try to keep learning constantly. And for me, Kubernetes is like being like a kid in a candy store. There's just so much happening in the technology and with the community, and there's so much to learn, and there's so many resources available. And in fact, one of my favorite personal projects was when I set up a Kubernetes cluster running on a bunch of Raspberry Pis. And when you actually power off one of them, you can see the pods getting rescheduled on another node. So that's seeing is believing, and that's like something that's very exciting to me about Kubernetes. And Sai, you asked about EKS Anywhere. So EKS, people are mostly familiar with. It's Elastic Kubernetes Service. It's a managed service that customers can use to create and operate Kubernetes clusters in the cloud. But a number of customers told us that they have existing investments in on-premise hardware and data centers that they want to leverage. So there is a deployment option for Amazon EKS that allows our customers to create and operate Kubernetes clusters on customer managed infrastructure while having that consistent experience and operational experience between the cloud and on-premises.
Absolutely. Now, Vipin, I think that's really why we started this project, right? I think a lot of customers have enjoyed that experience of using Kubernetes in the cloud, and now they're like, well, we have assets that maybe need to run on premises or maybe outside of the cloud. How can we kind of get help doing that? But again, I don't want to take away too much from what I'll be asking you today. I want to go to our next speaker here, who got a pretty big shout out already in the chat. Shuo Yang, can you take a second to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do and what brought you to EKS Anywhere as a project.
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Sai. Hi, everyone. My name is Shuo Yang. I'm a software development manager from AWS Snow family. So my team builds and maintain a good portion of the Snow edge compute products and features. So what really brought me in is when we started hearing from our customers that they're really interested in using Snow devices to run their workload, but more than that, they also want to run Kubernetes on top to really leverage the beauty of the Kubernetes community and all the software it comes with. And that's where when we started engaging with Vipin and some of the folks from the containers and the Kubernetes org, we started collaborating and look at what can we do to bring more customer value onto the edge to the Snow devices. And that's how I kind of got started on this EKSA and Snow support in general. And thank you for having me here today.
Awesome. We're so excited to have you here with us, Shuo. Now, last but not least, we have our third panelist of our session today, Rama. Please take a second to introduce yourself and tell us what brought you to this project. What do you work on?
Thanks, Sai. It's great to be here. Hi, all. I'm Rama Ponduswamy. I run go-to-market for EKS Anywhere. I work with customers across the world in guiding them to the right container technology solutions that are offered by AWS and help them in accelerating their modernization journey as well. I've been passionate about containers and Kubernetes as such. I've been part of the Kubernetes world for the past few years, and I'm also passionate about helping customers, guiding them to the right technology solutions so that they can accelerate that modernization journey. And I look forward to working with a lot more customers as well as part of their cloud migration journey and containerization as well.
Exciting. Thanks for joining us. Now, lastly, I want to do a quick shout out to our ASL interpreter, Arthur. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for helping some of the folks in the chat follow along. All right. Now, first question, Vipin, I'm going to put you back on the spot again. Now, EKS Anywhere, tell us a little bit more about why did we start this project, and what do we kind of see as some of the primary use cases of why are customers asking for something like this?
Yeah, so a lot of our customers want to modernize their applications. They want to move towards Kubernetes, and it's a great technology for running containers and making your applications portable and highly available and all of that good stuff. So the AWS cloud is the best place to run Kubernetes. So we have a managed service called Amazon EKS, and also a lot of our customers have on-premise use cases. And I'll let Rama talk about some of the use cases. But some of those use cases require customers to actually run Kubernetes on premises. And our goal was to give customers a consistent operational experience so that they can run their Kubernetes workloads either in the cloud or on premises, and have that same operational consistency. So one of the things we provide is we use the same Kubernetes bits both for running EKS in the cloud as well as on premises. And the reason that's important is because, first up, it's upstream, so we don't fork the project. But also, when the scale at which Kubernetes in the cloud EKS operates, we have to maintain extremely high level of security, meet high security standards, have CVE fixes, all of that in. And our EKS Anywhere customers get all of those, the same operational stability that we give for EKS in the cloud, customers get on premises as well. Maybe, Rama, do you want to talk about some of the use cases?
Yeah,
sure,
no, definitely. So Rama, before you jump into that real quick, I just want to quickly mention that, for the folks following along in the chat, EKS Anywhere is going to be this way for customers to leverage the power of EKS on the cloud, but on their own infrastructure, right? And that's the session that we have today. We're going to be talking about the different infrastructure provider choices that customers have when working with EKS Anywhere. But I feel like before we get to that, before we talk about where people are going to run EKS Anywhere, I think we need to understand why. Why do people want to do this? And Rama, I want you to kind of go through some of the customer use cases, but at the end, if you don't mind, tell us what is the one biggest reason that you think customers are coming to us. Maybe one of the kind of prime examples that you can think of, a customer example that really exemplifies why EKS Anywhere.
Sure, Sai. So essentially, at a high level, we see three categories of use cases or customers that benefit the most out of EKS Anywhere. Right. The first category is customers that are just getting started on their cloud migration and containerization journey as well. Especially for those customers that are very new to the Kubernetes world, it could be a bit overwhelming for them to not only just get a production-ready Kubernetes cluster up and running, but also in terms of determining which are the exact third-party components that they would need to use along with Kubernetes cluster in order for it to effectively function in a production environment. Right? And the second part of the complexity comes when customers need to figure out the support for those third-party components. And there's a whole ocean of solutions available out there, and customers need to deal with multiple vendors for their support of those components, as well as a lot of finger pointing during their troubleshooting sessions. Right? And for those kind of customers, EKS Anywhere not only provides a secure, stable version of open source Kubernetes, but also it provides an opinionated set of tools, which we call curated packages, that are fully supported by AWS. So customers...
Rama, hate to interrupt you, but I want to dive into that a little bit more. You mentioned an ocean of solutions out there in the ecosystem. Now, one of the kind of visualizations I'd love to see is the CNCF landscape. Of course, the CNCF is hosting Kubecon next week, and that's kind of what we're leading into with AWS Container Days. Now, let me drop a link in the chat for the CNCF landscape. But it's actually incredible the number of solutions that are out there. Now, Rama, you mentioned that we provide an opinionated view into some of those solutions. And you even hinted at something called curated packages, which, by the way, the session right after this one, we're going to be talking a little bit more about that. So Rama, I just wanted to make sure that we add some context there. But tell us a little bit more about that. So that opinionated approach to this ocean of tooling, how does EKS Anywhere do that?
Yeah, so AWS takes the responsibility for vetting the multiple solutions available out there. We figure out which is the right solution for a particular component, for example, a CNI. What is the right third-party solution, right? Which solution available out there is stable and it is regularly patched, secure. All of that vetting AWS takes care of. We also take care of the support when it comes to those third-party components that we are bundling in with EKS Anywhere, right? So customers get that single-stop shop support just from AWS, and that reduces an operational overhead for them a lot of times as well, right? And those are kind of the value proposition for those customers that are just getting started on their modernization journey. It reduces their operational overhead, provides them a way to accelerate their modernization journey as well. The second category of customers that I would say are already well in their way into the modernization journey. They have migrated a portion of their workloads to the cloud, but they do envision this journey being a very long-term engagement, right? And in that interim period, they do have existing machines that they've already invested in data centers that don't expire any sooner. They also need to maintain both of these environments, which are usually disparate Kubernetes distribution across their on-premises and cloud environments, right? With EKS Anywhere, what we provide is a maximum possible consistent experience with its cloud counterpart, which is EKS on cloud, right? So these customers get a consistent experience across both these environments, so they do not have to deal with disparate distributions, disparate processes for maintaining these distributions and environments across the different container solutions as well, right? So third category of customers is where we see highly regulated customers, right? These customers run a majority of their container workloads on cloud already, but they do need to run a portion of these container workloads within state boundaries or within particular data centers due to regulatory reasons. We also see some highly regulated customers that have a need to run these container workloads in a disconnected or offline mode because they don't want to expose their production servers to the internet itself. So for these customers, EKS Anywhere provides, again, a consistent experience with the cloud as well as on premises, so they don't have to have disparate mechanisms, as well as we offer an offline mode where customers can completely install and run EKS Anywhere without any connection to the internet. So those are some of the high-level categories of customers that EKS Anywhere benefits the most.
Thank you. Thank you for that kind of overview, Rama. And I think it makes a lot of sense in my head. There's a lot of different types of customers that we want to make sure we target. But remember in the beginning, I asked you to think of maybe one burning example in the top of mind of an example of, let's say, an anonymized customer that is using EKS Anywhere. Tell us a little bit about that specific use case and where they're seeing success.
Yep. So we are seeing, I would say, a financial customer that I mentioned as part of the last use case, where they are in a highly regulated area. They cannot expose their production servers to the internet whatsoever. They are completely air-gapped, and they find the most benefit with EKS Anywhere because it enables an offline mode, but it also provides them a way to connect back to the cloud for other parts of workloads that can be exposed. Right? This fully air-gapped mode, the customer is benefiting a lot because they are running a portion of their workload on EKS, but they are also running an offline portion that is running on EKS Anywhere, which provides them that consistent experience, as well as an easy way to manage these multiple different Kubernetes environments.
Absolutely. So if there's one thing I know about financial institutions, it's that they get a little bit scared when we talk about open source capabilities and solutions that might not be fully supported or vetted and that kind of thing. And so I totally understand the concern when you look at something like the CNCF landscape and there's all of these open source projects to choose from. But we mentioned, I think Vipin, you had mentioned that EKS is based on the upstream Kubernetes, and EKS Anywhere is based on a number of community open source projects. So Vipin, is EKS Anywhere technically free? Can anyone use it? What's the AWS model to approach selling or working with EKS Anywhere for customers?
Yes. So the answer, Sai, is yes. EKS Anywhere is open source. Customers can go to GitHub today, right now, download it, and use it to create and operate Kubernetes clusters on premises. And like Rama mentioned, our goal is to not just provide the Kubernetes distribution, which is EKS distro. So EKS distro is part of EKS Anywhere, but also, we know that running Kubernetes on premises is hard. There's anybody that's played around with Kubernetes for even a few hours knows all of the components and configurations that you have to manage. And also, there's a lot of resources that customers need to allocate. Like they need people, they need hardware. All of that needs to be allocated for like security patches, getting the latest updates. All of that to run Kubernetes on premises. So our goal is to bundle tooling that customers need to stand up and operate Kubernetes clusters on premises, and also support them. So it's not just the cluster creation aspects, but also the operational tooling as well. Things like etcd management or CNI plugin. And we are looking to bundle more and more tools in the future. And like Sai, you mentioned, there's a next session on curated packages where we'll go and dive deeper into that area. So our goal is to make sure that customers should be able to run Kubernetes on premises using tooling and opinionation that is equivalent to what we give Kubernetes in the cloud. And if they want to, they can reach out to AWS for support for their clusters, and we can provide a subscription, and they can reach out to AWS 24/7 and get support for their clusters.
Excellent. Now, I know that with EKS Anywhere, there's a number of options. When we talk about infrastructure on premises, that can mean so many different things, right?
Yeah.
Customers have an opinionated approach to where they're running their solutions today. And so we need to be kind of flexible and open to that. Now,
Absolutely.
Today, I know that EKS Anywhere obviously has launched very recently, but we've been making a number of kind of progress towards a number of different infrastructure providers and support for them. Now, Vipin or Rama, Shuo, maybe what do we support today for EKS Anywhere? What's supported as far as developers that want to get started with EKS Anywhere as of today?
Yeah, I'll start off, and I know Shuo has some exciting stuff to share as well. So, like you said, Sai, we launched EKS Anywhere a few months back, and like with any product at AWS, we work backwards from our customers, and a lot of our customers told us that they're using VMware on premises in the data centers. So that's why when we launched with support for customers to run EKS Anywhere on vSphere in their data centers. And we've continued to hear from customers, with different use cases that require them to run Kubernetes on many different on-premises infrastructure. Like you said, each customer has a different use case, and we want to meet customers where they are. So we'll talk about some of those choices that customers have in a very little bit. But one thing I do want to call out is that we are standardizing on Cluster API. So Cluster API is a Kubernetes subproject, and customers get a declarative mechanism and tooling that simplifies provisioning, upgrading, and cluster operations. So that enables us to provide a standard interface on which we can build Cluster API providers and help customers to run EKS Anywhere on the infrastructure that they that works best for them. And Shuo, I know you have something at the back, so you want to talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, on my back, that's the Snowball Edge. So I think Sai touched on that, and I guess people can tell from my intro that I work for AWS Snow family. So that's our baby. So basically, over the past few years, we have been hearing from our public and commercial sector customers that they want to run Kubernetes in remote and air-gapped locations, and that's really what Snow is designed for. So we offer two types of like AWS first-party devices, Snowball Edge and the Snow Cone. And these devices are purposely built to run compute workloads at rugged, mobile, disconnected edge. And to provide the building blocks for customers to build their apps and run on the device, we offer kind of a version optimized for edge. For example, AWS EC2, S3, IAM. You kind of get a local version on the device, so you kind of get a similar experience as in running in the cloud. And with that, in late 2020, we published an AWS blog post talked about how customers can deploy EKS distro onto Snowball Edge to kind of get them started, how they can start running the Kubernetes and container workloads on Snow. And with that, it was mostly like a DIY type of deployment for setting up Kubernetes. Kind of painful for customers. It's time consuming, and there's no management provided there. So to further that support, we have been actively working with the EKS Anywhere team to try to bring EKS Anywhere onto Snowball Edge to provide that managed AWS experience to enable customer to run at this disconnected edge. And this will enable customer to run highly available, top fault tolerant Kubernetes clusters in locations like ships, oil rigs, for 5G or ML type of use cases. So one of the key benefits is that customer now can kind of deploy a full AWS all-in-one solution with both first-party hardware and software altogether to any location, pretty much anywhere inside the globe. So that's really the key benefit we are going to offer here.
That makes a lot of sense. So definitely, we talked about maybe customer data centers that are more established, but for customers who have edge use cases, I feel like the Snowball is going to be one of the best ways to kind of bring in Kubernetes into those environments. And so love to see that. And I love to see that there's an actual Snowball device behind you. I think that really goes to show how much power we can pack into such a small form factor. It's pretty incredible. I don't have the stats off my head, but that thing is an absolute beast. Now, next, I want to talk a little bit about this because from a developer perspective, and for the folks in the chat, I did start off as a developer a long time ago, let's say about 5-6 years ago. And so what I'm thinking here is I don't have a personal VMware vSphere deployment or even a snow cone device. How do I get started with EKS Anywhere? Is there a good approach to that? And I'll leave this one open for any of you to respond.
Yeah, so we do have a local Docker deployment option that developers can use to just play around with EKS Anywhere, but we definitely don't recommend those for production environments. But that's one of the options. If you want to quickly get started, just have a feel for EKS Anywhere itself. You can run a local Docker version within your own laptop where you can play around with EKS Anywhere, get to learn it. And once you're ready, you can start to experiment on the VMware version or even the bare metal version that is coming up.
Excellent. So for developers that just want to get a taste of how this stuff works, I think that's really helpful to have that local development option. Okay, so we talked about currently supported options, dev and test options, and even the Snow device. But Vipin, I'm going to pass it to you. Tell us a little bit about the roadmap. What can we expect in the future for EKS Anywhere?
Sure, Sai. Do you want to bring up that slide, the one slide that we put together?
Let's do it.
Yeah, so while you bring that up, like our goal with EKS Anywhere, like I said, one is, we want to meet customers where they are on premises and make sure that they're able to run, Kubernetes clusters easily. And second is, like as we talk to different customers, there's like different infrastructure options that they use on premises. For example, telco customers have told us that they need to run Kubernetes on bare metal hardware, for like various reasons. Some of their applications require direct access to the underlying hardware components, things like radio controllers and such. So that's why we are currently working on adding support for bare metal for EKS Anywhere. There's also other customers who want to leverage the open source stack end to end, and they want to use something like Apache Cloud Stack on premises. Apache Cloud Stack is open source software that is designed to deploy and manage large networks of virtual machines. And we collaborated with the Cloud Stack community to build a cluster API provider for Cloud Stack. And customers will soon be able to run EKS Anywhere on their Apache Cloud Stack environments on premises. We're also collaborating with Nutanix to help customers using Nutanix AHV on premises. That's a popular option we've heard from customers. And again, because we're standardizing on Cluster API, we are looking to leverage Cluster API provider for Nutanix to build that extensible framework and allow customers to create EKS Anywhere clusters. So our goal is to integrate Cluster API provider for Nutanix with EKS Anywhere so that customers can create and operate clusters on premises. So I'm excited. We have a few options coming up, and really excited for all of that.
Absolutely. Love to see that we've got that drumbeat going, that we're making progress towards these additional kind of infrastructure provider options. Thank you for that overview, Vipin. Now, Chad, I just want to quickly remind you folks, we are looking for questions. If you have anything that you want to ask one of our speakers here, feel free to drop it in the chat. Very quickly, I do want to talk about some of the open source capabilities that come with EKS Anywhere. Now, Rama, I think it was you in kind of your explanation of the different use cases. You mentioned that consistency and support between an EKS on AWS versus an EKS on-premises environment is critical to customers. And so how are we achieving that? Can you talk about some of the open source components, the community projects that we're essentially bundling with the EKS Anywhere kind of solution?
Sure, Sai. So it's underlying basic consistency is being provided by what we call EKS distro, right? EKS distro is the secure, stable version of open source Kubernetes that AWS puts out there, right? It's again a free and open source tool, but the only difference between EKS distro and EKS Anywhere would be that EKS distro, you still need to depend on the open source community. It does not have any of these bundled components available out there. But this EKS distro is what powers all of the EKS flavors across any of its deployment options, right, including EKS on the cloud, which means that you get to run the same secure, stable distribution of Kubernetes with the same level of patches that is applied by AWS at that level. So that provides a basic distribution level consistency across these environments. And we've been talking a lot about disconnected air-gapped use cases, but I don't want folks to get the wrong understanding that that's where EKS Anywhere really works, right? EKS Anywhere, the real power of EKS Anywhere is in terms of the consistent integrations that we provide as well, right? For example, you can use the EKS connector to connect your existing EKS Anywhere clusters or any Kubernetes compliant cluster back to the cloud, where you can see all of your clusters connected, listed on there. So right now it provides visibility, but going forward, we'll be enabling more operational capabilities that are possible from the EKS Cloud Console across all of these connected clusters as well. And on top of that, we also provide support for IRSA or IAM roles for service accounts, which customers can use to authenticate their pods to services running on AWS, like S3 or AMP, AMG for their even logging monitoring needs. We are going to be adding integrations for Certificate Manager on AWS. We also have support for AWS IAM Authenticator. So customers get to leverage a lot of these tools on cloud while they're running on premises. So it makes it that much more easier when they do actually transition back to the cloud at the end of the day. So there's going to be, as you mentioned, there are open source components that we bundle in today, which is Cilium CNI, Flux controller for our GitOps, and Ubuntu and Bottle Rocket support as part of Node operating system. And there's going to be a lot more of these open source solutions supported by AWS that are going to be offered as part of EKS Anywhere, which we call curated packages, which is going to be covered in the next section after this. So those are some of the advantages that customers get in terms of consistency, as well as getting prepared for their eventual move to the cloud at some point in time as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rama. And also thank you to all of the panelists on today, Shuo, Vipin as well. This has been an excellent start to 2 more sessions that are coming up here focused on EKS Anywhere. Now, very quickly, the team here would love to have you share any feedback that you may have. We're going to bring up that slide real quick here to make sure that you have access to all of the folks here on this line. Now, I think we dropped a message in chat. Be sure to reach out to that email directly, the AWS customer feedback, eksanywhere@amazon.com, if you want to reach out to any of our awesome panelists here today. Of course, today's sessions are hosted by Containers from the Couch, and I feel like I need to do a shameless plug here. If you're wondering a little bit more about EKS Anywhere and how it differs from our other solution for offering Kubernetes on premises, EKS on Outposts, be sure to check out my Lightboard video on Containers from the Couch. It's going to go into detail about how EKS Anywhere and EKS on Outposts are different. Again, I want to thank all our panelists today, and I'm going to set up for the next session here. Thanks for joining us.